My name is Miguel Angel Bocanegra. I'm a third-year PhD student at Northwestern in the Learning Sciences department. I had amazing experiences at COP29 in Baku, Azerbaijan. Part of my research is I work with indigenous communities all over the world, and we think about what are our day-to-day interactions that contribute towards more sustainable and livable futures. And part of that is through climate. I'm also passionate about data infrastructure, in particular to indigenous data sovereignty. And so it moves me so much that I created my own non-for-profit. And so we're really thinking deeply, how do we create systems, data systems, that are aligned with indigenous knowledge systems on how we engage with the natural world. That's also in partnership with school districts. So I'm thinking about how do we continue to incorporate the two, where indigenous folks and non-indigenous folks who are in school are also learning about indigenous knowledge systems hand in hand, and at the same time is pushing towards a more livable future. At COP29, in particular, what we encountered was indigenous folks are having to create their own platform because the platform that's conceived by the major delegations is not suitable for how indigenous governance functions. So what that means is indigenous folks practice in collective decision making. They start with the collective and then they work their way towards individualism. Oftentimes these nation states, large parties, don't function that way in respects to governance. And so there's a fundamental difference when it comes to governance with indigenous folks and then non-indigenous folks. So indigenous communities at COP have had to create their own platform in relationship and in partnership with COP29 major delegation platforms. I had many interactions with indigenous folks from all over the world, and we talked a lot about our cultural practices on everyday interactions. I think what the future of international climate change could look like is if we adopt a different framework of how we interact. And so as opposed to a rights policy framework or a governance policy framework, I think encouraging the world to take on a responsibility paradigm or a responsibility framework, it changes how we fundamentally engage with one another.